Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a creamy body wash. Now this is something that you have been asking me to make for a really long time, and to be honest, it took me a really long time to perfect this technique and to get it down just right for you and be ready to share. So I'm very excited to be sharing it with you today. It's a surfactant based creamy body wash. So this took a lot of research and practice, but I finally got it down and I'm very proud of the result. When it comes to making surfactant-based soaps, there is so much to know. So I'm hoping to bring you a small series of shower gels and body washes using surfactants. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you my step-by-step process of how to make this particular body wash. And I'm going to be going over the list of ingredients and why I'm using them. I'm going to try to make this video pretty simple and just give you some brief explanations so you have a general idea of what's going on. But I do encourage you to research surfactants because they're not all equal and they don't all coexist together. If you're interested in this recipe today and you want the full written recipe and tutorial, please head on over to my Patreon campaign where you can unlock that for just a small $5 pledge. In fact, you can still unlock so many recipes and tutorials for just a small $5 pledge. And if you like this video and you like this content, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to my channel and share this video with a friend. That all really helps out my channel analytics and it helps me bring to you all the content that you really like to see. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and weigh out our surfactants. And what you need to know is that not all surfactants are created equal. And today for our main surfactant, we're gonna be using one called sodium cocoa isothianate noodles. This does come in powdered form as well, but I like it because it's got a very friendly, skin-friendly pH. It's very gentle and it's derived from coconuts. So it's about a 5.5 to 6 in the pH range, which is very skin-friendly and it's plant-based. So those are the reasons I'm using that for my main surfactant. And also when you open up sodium cocoa isothianate noodles, it's good to have a mask, which I'm gonna put on now because the dust from the sodium cocoa isothianate can be very irritating to your airways. So we're gonna go ahead and weigh out our surfactant. And also this surfactant is very good. It has a high foam, a good lather, it makes great bubbles. So it's just all around a very good surfactant. Okay, and then we're gonna close this up, and then I'm gonna be adding in the second surfactant. Now I did get these noodles, the sodium cocoa isothianate noodles. This time around I got them at Windy Point. Usually I get them at Wholesale Supplies Plus, but they were out, and so I got them from Windy Point this time. And they look like they're really good quality. So the next thing we're gonna do is weigh out the second surfactant. This is a liquid surfactant that we're using. This surfactant is called cocamidal propylbutane. And the reason I'm using this surfactant in conjunction with this one, I'm gonna try to give you a real simple explanation here because it can get quite complicated, and I just wanna try to keep it simple if you're making this for the first time. The sodium cocoa isothianate noodles are negatively charged, meaning they're anionic, and so you want to pair it, if you're going to be using another surfactant, you want to pair it with something that's either negatively charged or amphoteric, which means it has both positive and negative, so that the electrons will be attracted to one another instead of repelling from one another. So this way we know we're going to get a nice homogeneous mixture that's not separating. And cocamidal propylbutane is very similar to cocoa butane, but it's not exactly the same thing, and it's not harmful, but it is not totally a natural product either, just so that you're aware. So we are going to be putting in our liquid surfactant. It is mostly natural, but it does have some synthetic properties to it. Okay. And then to this, we're gonna just be adding in our glycerin. Now I'm using quite a bit of glycerin in this recipe because it's a humectant and it draws moisture to the skin. And it helps to stabilize bubbles and foam in your recipe. So we like to use glycerin, and it's a great skin loving ingredient. Okay. And then to this, we're going to be adding in our water. Now, once these noodles are all wetted down, you can take your mask off. As you can see, we're already kicking up a little bit of bubbles, so we do want to be careful about getting too much foam and bubbles while we're making this. Okay. And then I'm just going to take off my mask. I'm going to give this a good stir. And then I'm just going to set it aside. I'm stirring slowly. As you can see, we're already starting to kick up some bubbles. It's important to try and keep that low, the bubbles low on that, and that'll be more apparent as we go along. So then the next thing we want to do is go ahead and weigh off what's going to be considered our oil phase. So normally when you're making a surfactant based body wash or shower gel, you are not adding any oils to it because it doesn't have enough emulsifying properties to actually keep the oil and the water and the surfactants together. So in a cream-based wash, we are going to be adding oil, but we're also going to be adding in an emulsifier. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. So today for our light carrier oil, you could use any carrier oil. I'm using avocado oil. I'm using avocado oil because it's very moisturizing, it's very emollient, it's great for aging skin, but it also is not going to break the bank. It's not an expensive oil, and it has very nice properties. And since it's going to be going down the drain after you wash your body, it's probably best not to load up on super expensive oils. Although jojoba oil would probably be a very nice choice for this as well. Okay, and then to this, we're going to be adding in our emulsifier. Now, I am going to be using an emulsifier that you have not seen me use yet called Ridemulse. And it's an emulsifying wax that you commonly will see in something with a higher water content and a lower oil content, like this recipe here. It's got nice conditioning properties, and the other thing I really like about it is it's going to help thicken up our soap just a bit. So we're going to go ahead and get this weight off. Okay. Okay, now that our oil and our wax is weighed off and our surfactants and waters and glycerin, what we're going to do is go ahead and warm everything up. We're going to put the surfactants over a double boiler until all of the noodles are dissolved and we have a clear solution here. So I will bring you in for progress videos just to kind of show you what it's looking like as it's melting down. Oh, and I forgot real quick, I do want to add a tiny bit of yellow water-soluble dye to this mixture before we get it on the stove. This is just going to help. It's easier to add the color in now than later. So all I'm going to do, I'm using some yellow water-soluble dye, Citron from Fizz Fairy, just the tiniest bit. I'm not even going to weigh it, but you can see in just minuscule little amounts. And that should give me a nice bright yellow in the finished product. So we're going to go ahead and give that a stir gently. Okay. And I'm also just gonna take some rubbing alcohol before we get this on the stove and spritz it down just to kind of kill those bubbles before we get started, so we're not adding to that. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on a double boiler and I'll bring you back for progress video. Okay, I just wanted to show you what it's starting to look like now. Those little noodles are, surfactant noodles, are starting to reduce down in size, and we're just gonna continue to warm this up, double boiler style, slowly stirring so we don't kick up those bubbles until everything is completely melted down, and I'll bring you back when everything is completely melted down. Okay, my surfactant is all the way melted down and incorporated into the water and the glycerin, and the oils and e-wax are all melted down, and everything's sitting at right around 150 degrees, and this is Fahrenheit, and it took about 20 minutes for the surfactants to get all the way melted down. So we're going to go ahead and start by just pouring the water phase into the oil and waxes, just like you would do with a lotion. And I'm going to try to go slow so I don't kick up too many bubbles. Just making sure I get all of that in there. Okay, and then I'm just going to start by giving this a quick stir by hand. Now, I do have to use the immersion blender here to get this all emulsified and incorporated, and there's really no other way to do it with this recipe. I have tried adding the surfactants in and melting everything down after I emulsified the water and the oil phase, and it just didn't emulsify correctly. It kind of came apart the next day. So unfortunately, we are going to incorporate bubbles here, but we're just going to have to kind of go back and forth between the stick blender and the hand stirring for about a minute. Okay, so the only thing that's left here to do for a while is we're going to go ahead and add in the cool down ingredients once this reaches below about 140 degrees or so. We're kind of sitting right there, but I want to wait a little bit longer and get it down a little lower before we add in our preservative. So I'll bring you back to show you that part in just a minute. All right, it's time to go ahead and add in the fragrance oil and then the preservative. So today we're using a new fragrance oil by a brambleberry called Ray of Sunshine, and it really smells so good. It's like sunshine in a bottle. It smells excellent. It's got top citrusy, real lemony, mandarin orange citrus notes. Really, really good. And then it's got kind of some floral bottom notes, super fresh and juicy. Okay, so we're going to be going ahead and adding in the fragrance oil. Okay, and of course we're going to need to add a preservative here because we have an oil and water emulsion, and anytime you add oils and waters together, you need to add a preservative because you risk the mold and bacteria growing in your product. And also, since the pH of this product is super low, about 5.5, it's a good idea because those bacteria won't stay at bay as easily as they would if they were in a higher pH environment. So we're going to go ahead and add in some liquid Dermal Plus. Now, liquid Dermal Plus is great for oil and water emulsions, but mainly for products that have a high water content, like this one. So we're adding this in, and it's great for the range of pH that we're working with as well. So So liquid dermal plus works great in about a range of a 3 to an 8. So we're just going to give that a good mix. Now, we have incorporated in, of course, bubbles and foam with the high amount of blending and such we had to do, which is normal for this recipe and for this procedure, and also at this time it's still rather warm. So we're going to let it set up overnight so that we can really judge what the exact thickness of this is after it has a chance to set up to room temperature. And then there are options for thickeners, which I most of the time like to use. So, but we're gonna go ahead and be the judge of that in the morning. See, right now it's still very liquidy, but it's hard to tell because it's got lots of bubbles incorporated in. And also, sometimes I like to play around with the thickness of stuff. So although I've made this lots of times in the past, like this one's a little bit on the thicker side, I want to go ahead and try to find a thickness that's kind of middle of the road. And then you can kind of be the judge if you decide to make this. Okay, so I'm going to leave this overnight and then we'll come back to take a look at it in the morning. All right, see you in a few. All right, everybody, it's the next day and I wanted to show you how this sets up. So we are not going to be using any additional thickeners for this beautiful cream body wash. So I had this covered up with a piece of plastic. When you first uncover it, you will notice a little layer of foam. You need to stir that back in and get that all completely blended in just by hand stirring. And I also wanted to just show you the consistency here. As you can see, it's much like a lotion. And so we're not going to be adding any additional thickeners to this soap at all. So basically that is because of the type of emulsifier that we use, which is the water-soluble. If you used a different type of emulsifier, you might get a totally different consistency and you might want to consider thickening it up. If you do want to thicken it up, I recommend using glucose D. This sometimes goes by the brand name Ridithix, and really you only need like a 0.5% or 1%. But we're not going to be using any of this today. That water-soluble did a very nice job of thickening it because it has glycerol stearate and cetyl alcohol, and so it just does a great job of thickening this up. So I cannot wait to show you the demo, the lather demo here, because I think it's got a beautiful lather as well. But we're going to go ahead and actually put this into a piping bag so that I can get it into these cute little Boston round PET containers that I got at Nature's Garden. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just get this into the piping bag. Okay, we've got it into the piping bag, so we're just going to go ahead and snip off the end of this bag here. Now this is going to come out rather quickly because it is not as thick as, say, like cold processed soap or body butter. So we just want to get it. This is really the cleanest way I could think to get it into the containers. So it actually works pretty good. So I'm going to fill it all the way to the top. And there you go. They're all nice and bottled up in these cute little containers. So I wanted to go ahead and now show you a lather demo. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you what the lather looks like on this. Now, a little note on cream-based washes is because they do have oil in them, oil sort of detracts or inhibits lather to a certain degree. So we're not going to get a huge, big, fluffy lather like you would in, say, something that doesn't have any oil in it or something that's not an emulsified product. but I do think I found a really good balance between creamy, beautiful, creamy body wash and nice fluffy lather. So I want to show you what this looks like in a loofah and then without a loofah. I definitely think I recommend the loofah. We're just going to take a little bit that's left in this piping bag. I definitely recommend the loofah because it will help you get a nice, help you work in a nice lather. And isn't that so pretty? See, it's already just gorgeous. Beautiful, creamy. Look at those big bubbles. So this is what I mean about a good balance. And this doesn't have any drying effect or feel to the skin. It's got a nice, beautiful, powdery kind of finish. And it looks like it's doing a really good job. Feels like it's doing a really good job cleansing as well. So I am super excited to share this with you. I think I did come up with a really nice kind of balance between both cream wash and shower gel type lather. So that's just gorgeous. So I do recommend a loofah. So I'll show you what it looks like without a loofah, just so you can kind of see the difference. The loofah definitely does help with that. Still, you get a nice lather with just your hands, or a wash rag you could use. But as you can see, you do get tighter bubbles and it's more cream based. So that's the difference between the two. Anyway, I'm really obsessed with this recipe. I love it so much. And this concludes today's video. I hope you really liked this video. If you did, please remember to like it. Please leave a comment, share this video with a friend, and subscribe to my channel. Catch you on the next video. Bye. Keep shining.